Supreme Court justices should face 18-year term limits, a bipartisan working group of legal experts proposed in a new report released Wednesday, arguing the vital reform would help depoliticize the court as public trust in the institution remains low. Our consensus position is that this proposal presents the strongest and most broadly supported reform for a Supreme Court that has been much buffeted by reputational challenges and the political polarization that has been so prevalent in the nation, experts wrote in their report. Adoption of 18-year term limits will not solve all of our problems, but it would go a long way toward restoring the actual and perceived legitimacy and impartiality of our highest court. 65%. That's the share of respondents who supported term limits for Supreme Court justices in a University of Massachusetts Amherst poll conducted May 31 to June 8. The poll is in line with other polls over the past few years that have found majority support for term limits, though Democrats are typically more supportive of the proposal than Republicans. Polling also shows the broader negative perception Americans have of the Supreme Court, with a September Gallup poll finding only 41% of respondents approve of the institution, only slightly higher than the record low of 40% recorded in September 2021 and 2022. Republican lawmakers have been highly critical of any proposed reforms to the Supreme Court, including term limits, believing Democrats' efforts to overhaul the court are a politically motivated response to the current court's conservative tilt. "I don't like it," Senator Lindsey Graham, R.S.C., told The Washington Post in 2021 of the term limit proposal. "I think the system has worked well. I don't see a need to change it. The reason they're talking about changing it is because, Democrats lost elections, which have consequences. Democrats in the House and Senate have proposed legislation that would impose term limits on Supreme Court justices." Reps. R. Khanna, D-Calif, and Don Beyer, DVA, introduced legislation in June, right after the Supreme Court came out with a series of contentious orders on affirmative action, LGBTQ rights and student loan relief, while Democratic senators followed by introducing legislation last week in light of ongoing ethics issues at the court. The bills face long odds of actually passing, however, given Republicans' opposition to any reforms. Any legislation proposing reforms to the court, whether term limits or other changes, would need majority support in the House and at least 60 votes in the Senate. Both are highly unlikely to happen, given the GOP's House majority and the Democrats' narrow 51-seat majority in the Senate.